Harvey Grant didn't expect to be on a stranger's roof at 7 in the morning, soaked halfway through his flannel, with a wrench between his teeth and his 6-year-old daughter coloring in a sketch pad on the front porch. "Careful, Daddy," Clara called up with wide eyes. "That ladder looks super wobbly." "Thanks, baby, I hadn't noticed," Harvey muttered, adjusting the shingles and trying not to panic every time a gust of wind hit him. He hated heights, but roofs didn't fix themselves, and the woman who answered the door had looked desperate. "I'm not sure what happened," she'd said. "I heard a crack during the storm last night, and this morning, water was pouring through the ceiling of the guest room." She had messy hair, a wide robe, and a voice like she'd just woken up after crying. Harvey had seen that look before he'd worn it himself last year, when his wife walked out and never looked back. He wasn't exactly in the business anymore. He'd left construction for odd jobs when work dried up. But she was clearly alone, and it wasn't like he could say no with Clara watching. So now here he was, patching a stranger's roof. No clue that the woman inside the modern farmhouse with the peeling white fence was worth more than 100 of the houses surrounding it combined. "Daddy, can I have a snack?" Clara's voice broke his focus. "Check the bag, honey." "There's a granola bar in there," he called down without turning. "Got it." He gave the last nail a solid hit and sighed. "All done," he muttered to himself before climbing carefully back down. When his boots hit the ground, the front door opened again. The woman stepped out, now dressed in jeans and a soft-looking sweater. Her hair was tied back, sunglasses in hand. "Is it safe?" "It'll hold for now," Harvey said, wiping sweat from his brow. "You'll need a full replacement before the next storm season, though. I can give you the name of a guy who'd do it cheap." She blinked at him, then at Clara. "You did all that, for nothing. You don't even know me." "Yeah, well, I don't like seeing people struggle with things I know how to fix." "It's not a big deal." "Yes, it is," she said softly, stepping down onto the porch. "I'm Bianca Zeller." "Harvey Grant," he nodded, offering a hand. "And that's Clara, she's my boss." Bianca really laughed, the first smile he'd seen on her all day, and knelt beside the little girl. "Hi, Clara. What are you drawing?" "It's a unicorn with a rocket launcher," Clara said proudly, holding it up. Bianca blinked. "That's badass." "Bianca," Clara gasped. "That's a bad word." Harvey rubbed the back of his neck, chuckling. "We're working on language boundaries." Bianca's eyes softened. "You're a single dad." "Yeah, her mom decided motherhood wasn't her thing." She glanced down, then back at him. "Well, you're doing a great job." Harvey didn't know what to say to that. Compliments weren't something he got often. "Thanks. I'd like to pay you," she added quickly. "Let me know," he interrupted. "I didn't do it for money." "But look, I'm not trying to be a hero. Just seemed like you needed help." He turned to pack up his tools, but she followed. "Then let me buy you lunch." "Both of you?" Harvey hesitated. Clara looked up at him with hopeful eyes. "Can we, Daddy, please?" Bianca smiled, her eyes flicking between the two of them. "I know a place that has the best burgers in town and milkshakes." Harvey sighed. "All right, but we're not letting you pay." "Too bad," she said cheerfully. "I'm very sneaky with the check." He didn't realize how sneaky until she told the waiter up front, and they were halfway through milkshakes before he could argue. The place was way too nice for a guy like him. Brick walls, leather booths, jazz playing in the background. Clara was too distracted by her chocolate shake to notice, but Harvey felt out of place. "You don't live in that house, do you?" he asked suddenly. Bianca blinked. "Why, you just don't seem like you belong there." Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, then changed her mind. "I bought it as a getaway. I needed space." He nodded. "Well, it's a good house, just needs a better roof." She laughed again. "You really don't care who I am, do you?" "Should I?" Bianca stared at him for a beat that felt heavier than it should have. "No, that's honestly kind of refreshing." They walked out of the restaurant into the warm afternoon sun. Clara skipped ahead, singing to herself. "Thank you again," Bianca said, sliding her sunglasses on. "For everything." "Don't mention it," Harvey said. "Really," she paused. "Would you consider helping me with a few more repairs? Nothing big, just I could use someone I can trust." "I'll pay you this time." Harvey looked down at Clara, who was now twirling like a ballerina in the parking lot. He needed the work. They needed the money. "Yeah," he said. "All right, I'll stop by tomorrow." Bianca smiled. "Great." "And Harvey?" "Yeah, I'm glad you knocked on my door." He didn't know what to say to that. So he just nodded, took Clara's hand, and walked away. He didn't know it yet, but that roof job would change his entire life. The next morning, Harvey pulled into Bianca's gravel driveway just before 8, the bed of his old pickup loaded with tools and supplies. Clara sat beside him, swinging her legs and humming as she finished the toast he'd made at sunrise. With school out for summer and no babysitter he could afford, she tagged along wherever he went. Bianca knew that when she asked for more help, and surprisingly, she hadn't seemed to mind at all. As he stepped out, Bianca was already on the porch with 2 travel mugs in hand. She wore a crisp button-down tucked into high-waisted trousers and a watch that probably cost more than his truck. Still, her hair was damp from a shower, and she looked more approachable than she had the day before. "I made coffee," she said, offering a mug. "One has cream." "I guessed." He accepted it with a quiet thanks, careful not to let their fingers touch. She was too poised, too polished. Whatever this was, it was work, and he needed the paycheck. Inside, she led him through the foyer to a hallway he hadn't seen before. Light filtered through tall windows, casting patterns on the hardwood floor. A long linen runner softened their steps, and a few pieces of abstract art lined the walls, nothing flashy, just expensive in the way things were when you didn't buy them at discount stores. "This door sticks," she said, gesturing to a guest room with a crooked frame. "And the faucet in the bathroom won't stop dripping. I tried to tighten it, but it made a horrible noise." Harvey crouched, inspecting the hinges. "Looks like the foundation shifted a bit." "I can shave it down and realign it. The faucet's easy, I've got parts in the truck." As he worked, Clara sat up at the kitchen counter with crayons and a library book. Bianca moved through the house quietly, answering a call in a language he didn't recognize and disappearing into what looked like a home office. She didn't interrupt or hover. She just left him to it, which he appreciated. By noon, he'd fixed the door, replaced the faucet, and tightened a loose railing on the back deck. He was packing up when Bianca reappeared, barefoot now, her sleeves pushed up. "I made sandwiches," she said casually, "and lemonade if you're hungry." Harvey hesitated. He hadn't eaten since breakfast, and Clara was already eyeing the tray on the counter like it held pure treasure. "Sure," he said finally. "Thanks." They ate at the kitchen island turkey on fresh focaccia, a bowl of cherries, and lemonade that tasted like it had been squeezed by angels. Clara chatted through bites, telling Bianca all about the summer reading contest at the library and how she was going to win a telescope. "I didn't know you liked space," Bianca said, genuinely curious. "I love it," Clara said, her eyes bright. "I want to be an astronaut. Or maybe a rocket engineer." "Well," Bianca said, glancing at Harvey, "it sounds like someone's raising a genius." Harvey gave a quiet chuckle. "She's smarter than me, that's for sure." After lunch, Bianca walked them out. The sun was high now, casting sharp shadows across the gravel. Harvey opened the truck door for Clara and turned to thank her again. Before he could speak, Bianca said, "I was thinking. There's a garden shed out back. It's falling apart. If you're available next week, I'd love your help with it." He studied her for a moment. The way she phrased it, like she wasn't hiring him but inviting him. "I've got time," he said. "Sure." Bianca hesitated, then added, "I'll be honest, Harvey. I've had a lot of people lie to my face, especially when they think they can get something from me." "You didn't ask a single question about who I am or what I do. That's rare." "I don't care what you do," he said flatly. "I care if you treat people right, that's about it." Something flickered in her eyes, not surprise, something heavier. She looked like she wanted to say something else but stopped herself. Instead, she nodded and stepped back. "See you next week then." Harvey drove off with the window down, Clara singing softly beside him. He didn't know what Bianca's story was, but there was something about the way she looked at him, like she was trying to remember how to trust someone again. The next few days passed in a blur of small jobs and long evenings. He fixed a fence for a neighbor, patched drywall at an old client's place, and finally replaced the alternator in his truck, using the last of what he'd made from Bianca's work. On the following Monday, he returned to her house. This time, she met him in the backyard. The garden shed really was a mess, leaning to one side, the doors swollen with moisture, the roof sagging like it had given up entirely. "I was going to tear it down," she said, standing beside him. "But then I thought maybe it could be saved." Harvey nodded. It can. But it'll take a couple days. I've got time, she said, and I'm curious. About you, she said simply. He looked at her, and this time he didn't look away. You sure you want to go down that road? Bianca didn't flinch. I do. The wind tugged at her hair, and she pushed it back without thinking. Behind them, Clara sat beneath a tree with her sketchpad, the pages fluttering like leaves. You always keep your daughter with you, Bianca said, not accusing, just noticing. I don't have a choice, he said. But even if I did, I wouldn't change it. She's lucky, Bianca said quietly. Not everyone gets that. Harvey didn't answer. He picked up his hammer and turned toward the shed, but her words stuck with him longer than he expected. That night, after Clara fell asleep in her bedroll in the front room of their rental, Harvey sat on the porch with a beer and stared at the stars. He hadn't thought much about Bianca Zeller before. Now he couldn't stop. He didn't know what game she was playing or if it was even a game at all. But he knew one thing. Women like her didn't cross into his world unless they wanted something, and he'd be damned if he let his daughter get caught in the fallout. Bianca wasn't in the garden when Harvey arrived 3 days later, just a note taped to the back door and a silver key dangling from a strand of twine. Let yourself in. Emergency meeting. Back soon. He turned it over in his hand, weighing it like it might grow teeth. She trusted him with a key. Clara tugged at his shirt. Can I draw on the porch again? Yeah, he said, snapping out of it. I'll be just out back. The shed was still leaning, but less so now. Harvey had reinforced the frame with treated lumber and replaced half the shingles. He'd been planning to finish the siding that afternoon. Instead, he found himself staring at the house more than the nails in his hand. The key sat in his pocket, warm from his grip. He didn't go inside, not until clouds rolled in and thunder rumbled low across the hills. Clara came to him, clutching her book against her chest. It's starting to rain, she said quietly. Can we wait in the kitchen? Harvey hesitated. He didn't want to overstep, but Bianca had left him the key. He opened the back door. Inside, it smelled faintly of lemon balm and cedar. He wiped their shoes and led Clara to the kitchen, settling her on a stool while he made tea with the little electric kettle on the counter. He didn't touch anything else, didn't wander. Just stood with his arms crossed, staring at the rain streaking down the windows. He didn't hear the front door open, but he heard Bianca's voice, low, tired, clipped. I told them I'm not selling. If they push again, I'll walk away from the board entirely. A man responded, his tone sharp and impatient. You're making this personal. It is personal, she snapped. They're gutting everything I built. The front door slammed and footsteps echoed down the hall. A moment later, she appeared in the kitchen doorway in a black trench coat, a leather folder in one hand, her jaw tight. She stopped when she saw them. You came in, Bianca said softly, eyes landing on Clara first, then Harvey. It started raining, he said. Didn't want her getting wet. Bianca nodded slowly, then walked to the counter and set her folder down. You did the right thing. I'm glad you used the key. Clara looked between them. Are you mad? Bianca crouched beside her. Not at all, sweetheart. It's your house too when you're here. Harvey watched her. This was a different version of her, tense, distracted, but trying not to show it. She poured herself a glass of water with hands that trembled slightly. You all right? He asked. She took a sip before answering. Just business. You don't look like it's just business. She met his gaze. They want to take my name off the foundation I started, merge it with a corporate trust. It would triple the funding, but it wouldn't be mine anymore. Harvey didn't ask what kind of foundation. She wasn't offering that yet. Instead, he said, sounds like they're offering you more money than control. Bianca's laugh was humorless. That's exactly it. Then don't let them buy your name. She looked at him for a long time. You'd be terrible in a boardroom. You don't hedge. I don't have time to. The rain slowed and Clara yawned. Bianca walked to a cupboard and pulled out a tin of cookies, setting them next to the tea. I have oatmeal raisin. Sound good? Clara perked up. Yes, please. Harvey shook his head, amused. You didn't have to, I wanted to, Bianca interrupted. He studied her face. There were faint lines now near her eyes, like she hadn't slept. Her coat was soaked at the hem. She must have walked from wherever that meeting had been. You're soaked, he said. Go change. I'll finish the siding while there's still light. Her eyes lingered on his for a beat before she nodded and disappeared upstairs. He worked quickly, hammering through the damp air while Clara colored inside. By the time he finished, the clouds had broken, casting golden light across the grass. He packed up, wiped his hands, and stepped inside to say goodbye. Bianca was back in the kitchen, barefoot again, wearing a navy sweater and soft cotton pants, her hair twisted into a loose braid. "You finished?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "Siding's done, just needs paint, stay for dinner." He hesitated. "You don't have to, I want to." Her voice was firm. "I already made something, it's just reheating." Clara tugged at his sleeve. "Can we, Daddy?" He didn't answer right away. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Okay." They ate in the sunroom, plates balanced on their laps, light pouring through the tall glass panes. Bianca had made pasta simple but rich, tossed with roasted vegetables and fresh herbs. Clara chattered through bites while Bianca laughed and asked questions, and for a moment everything felt normal. After, as the sun dipped low, Bianca walked them out. She touched Harvey's arm lightly before he opened the truck door. "I don't usually let people into my house," she said quietly. "Or my life," he nodded. "I figured. But I don't feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with you. That's new." Harvey didn't know what to say to that, so he said the truth. "I don't play games, Bianca. I know." She stepped back and he started the engine. Clara was asleep before they hit the main road. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, then at the empty seat beside him. He didn't know what Bianca Zeller was offering. But whatever it wasn't just work anymore, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for that. Harvey stood in front of the mirror in the cramped bathroom of his rental, buttoning the cleanest shirt he owned. It was a pale blue Oxford, collar slightly frayed, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Clara sat on the closed toilet lid behind him, swinging her legs and holding a tiny pink purse she insisted on bringing. "Bianca said we have to dress nice," Clara announced, checking her reflection in the mirror. "This is my fancy sparkle headband." "Do you think she'll like it?" "She'll love it," Harvey said, adjusting his collar. "And you look like a princess astronaut." Clara grinned and gave him a thumbs up. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous," Harvey said, reaching for his watch. "I'm just not used to dinners where people wear shoes that cost more than a week of groceries." Clara tilted her head. "Is it okay if I don't eat the green stuff?" "We'll see," he said and tapped her nose. "But try to be polite. And no talking about rocket launchers at the table. I make no promises." They arrived at Bianca's house just as the sun dipped behind the tree line, casting long shadows over the gravel drive. But instead of parking near the porch, they were directed around the back by a valet in a black blazer. Harvey blinked at the man, then at the row of luxury vehicles lining the lawn. "What is happening?" he muttered. Clara gasped. "Daddy." "There's a chocolate fountain." They stepped out of the truck and were met with soft music drifting from hidden speakers, fairy lights strung through the trees, and a long table set under a white canopy. Candles flickered in glass holders, and servers in black carried trays of hors d'oeuvres. Harvey felt his chest tighten. Bianca appeared from the far end of the garden, wearing a deep navy dress with a structured waist and thin straps. Her hair was loose, curling slightly at the ends. Around her neck was a simple pendant, not flashy but unmistakably valuable. She reached them quickly, her eyes warm. "I was starting to worry," Harvey gestured around. "This doesn't exactly scream casual dinner." "I wanted to celebrate," she said. The board backed down. "The foundation stays mine. You threw a party for that." "I threw a party to say thank you," she said softly. "Not just for fixing things around the house, for showing up, for being real." Harvey didn't know what to say, but Clara stepped forward before he had to. "You look like a star, Bianca." Bianca crouched, smiling. "And you look like someone who's going to eat 5 desserts." "I already picked out 3. Bianca looked up at Harvey. "You'll stay, please?" He nodded once. The evening spun out in a surreal blur. Clara ran with a group of kids across the lawn. Bianca introduced Harvey to strangers with names he recognized from magazines. And someone tried to hand him a wine list with vintages older than he was. Eventually, he found a quiet stretch of garden near the back fence and stood alone, trying to breathe. Bianca joined him a few minutes later, her heels silent on the grass. "I know this isn't your scene," she said. "No," he admitted. "But you are." She tilted her head. "What do you mean? You move through this world like it doesn't touch you." Like it bends around you. Bianca looked out at the crowd. It doesn't feel like that from the inside. It feels like I'm constantly ducking knives. He turned toward her. Then why stay in it? Because I built it, she said simply. And because if I leave, the wrong people take over. They stood in silence for a moment, the sounds of the party fading behind them. You've been quiet since dinner, she said. What's on your mind? Harvey exhaled slowly. I've been trying to figure out what this is. Bianca didn't answer right away. It's not charity if that's what you're thinking. It's not just work either, he said. And I don't want Clara getting used to something that disappears. Bianca stepped closer. I didn't ask you here for her. I asked you here for you. He met her eyes. You're a billionaire. Technically, yes. I fix things with my hands because I can't afford to hire someone else. I know. I sleep on a couch most nights so Clara can have the only bed. I've seen it. So what do you want from me? Bianca touched his hand. I want someone who tells me the truth, who doesn't flinch when I'm angry and doesn't run when I'm quiet. I want someone who looks at me and doesn't see a brand. Harvey didn't move. You want all that from a man with holes in his shoes. I want it from you. He closed his eyes for a second, then opened them. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I, she said. But I know I'm not scared when I'm around you. He looked at her, really looked, and saw all the cracks she kept hidden behind perfect posture and practiced smiles. He saw someone who'd learned to fight alone and was finally tired of it. Then let's not be scared together. Bianca stepped forward and kissed him, no fanfare, no spotlight. Just her and him, and the fireflies blinking in the dark. Later, as guests filtered out and the garden emptied, Clara curled up on a lounge chair with a blanket wrapped around her. Harvey carried her to the truck, heart pounding, unsure what came next. Bianca walked with him, her arm brushing his. Come back tomorrow, she said quietly. Not to fix anything, just come back. He looked down at the sleeping girl in his arms, then back at the woman beside him. I will. And this time, it wasn't about work. It was about something that had grown slowly, unexpectedly, between tangled wires and crooked doors and late conversations under stormy skies. It wasn't about wealth or rescue. It was about two people who had nothing to prove and everything to lose. And for once, Harvey felt like maybe, just maybe, he hadn't been the one doing the saving. Maybe someone had saved him, too. The morning air was cool and crisp, the kind of spring breeze that hinted at summer without fully committing. Harvey stood in the driveway, toolbox in hand, staring at the long column of black SUVs idling near Bianca's house. Men and women in tailored suits stepped out one by one, all of them moving with a kind of rehearsed importance he'd never seen outside movies. He adjusted Clara's backpack on her shoulders. Hang tight, bug. Let me see what's going on. Clara nodded, already distracted by the garden swing Bianca had hung from the old oak tree the week before. Harvey crossed the gravel carefully, muscles tense, until a tall man with a Bluetooth earpiece stepped into his path. Can I help you? The man asked, eyes scanning him like a barcode. I'm here to see Bianca, Harvey said, voice flat. The man hesitated just long enough to make his point, then stepped aside. Harvey walked up the porch steps and reached for the door just as it opened. Bianca stood there, dressed in a sharply cut black blazer and silk trousers, her hair swept into a knot at her nape. She looked like a thunderstorm bottled into a human frame. I was going to call you, she said, stepping forward. Too late for that now, Harvey said. What's going on? She glanced behind her. The Foundation's board sent a review team. They're evaluating leadership continuity after my public refusal to merge. Sounds like they're trying to push you out without saying it. Bianca's jaw tightened. Exactly. You want me to take Clara and come back later? No, she said instantly. I want you here, you and Clara both. I don't want to be surrounded by people who only see dollar signs. Harvey nodded once. Then we're not going anywhere. The day passed in a blur of tension. Harvey kept Clara occupied outside, helping her build a rock path through the flower beds with stones they found near the creek. Every now and then, he glanced at the house and caught glimpses of the suits pacing behind the tall windows, voices rising and falling like tides. By late afternoon, Bianca emerged again. Her shoulders were stiff, but she wasn't unraveling. Not yet. They're giving me 72 hours to respond, she said. They want me to step down and accept a ceremonial title, no authority, just photo ops and speeches. You going to? I don't know, she said. I built every inch of that foundation from scratch. And now I feel like a ghost walking through its walls. Harvey leaned against the fence. Then maybe it's time to stop walking through the old walls and build new ones. She looked at him, eyes narrowing. Build what? Whatever comes next. You don't need their permission to make something that matters again. Bianca didn't answer at first. Then she stepped closer, her voice lower. I spent so long thinking love was leverage, that anyone who got close to me wanted something. You haven't asked me for a single thing. Because I don't want anything from you, Harvey said, except maybe a seat at your table when you're ready, and a place for Clara if she wants to keep helping you plant lavender. Bianca laughed, too suddenly, like emotion had caught her sideways. That lavender turned out sideways. She thinks it's a miracle. Don't ruin it. They sat on the porch steps as the sun dipped low, casting the garden in gold. Clara climbed into Bianca's lap without hesitation, her tiny hands playing with the hem of Bianca's sleeve. I told my teacher you're my friend now, Clara said sleepily. Bianca wrapped her arms around her, something tender flickering in her expression. That's the best title I've ever had. Later that night, after Clara was tucked into the guest room upstairs, Harvey found Bianca in the kitchen, barefoot, sipping a glass of something dark red. There were no more suits, no more buzz of voices, just the two of them. She handed him a glass. They want an answer by Monday. You already have it, don't you? She nodded slowly. I'm walking away. It's not mine anymore. He took a sip. Then what now? I start over, smaller, smarter, and I stop pretending I have to carry it all alone. Harvey reached for her hand. You never did. She looked down at their joined fingers, then back up at him. I used to think a man like you, steady, grounded, would get bored with someone like me. You're wrong, he said. I don't want quiet, I want real. She stepped into him, resting her head against his chest. I want you. Not just here, not just when things fall apart. I want you with me when I build something new. You sure you're ready for that? He murmured. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He kissed her then, slow and certain, no urgency, no doubt, just promise. They spent the rest of the night talking in whispers on the porch swing, planning things they never imagined they'd get to plan. A home where no one had to leave in the morning. A garden Clara could design herself. A studio for Bianca's new foundation, this time built on her terms with Harvey helping from the ground up. 1 year later, the swing still hung from the same tree, but now it overlooked a house that was no longer just Bianca's. It was theirs. Clara ran barefoot through the grass, chasing their new puppy, a scrappy mutt with ears too big for his body. The laughter from the yard floated through the open kitchen window, where Harvey stood washing strawberries while Bianca leaned against the counter beside him, reading over grant proposals with a pencil between her fingers. You still think I'm out of your league? She asked teasingly. He glanced at her, smiling. You're not out of my league. You're just the best damn thing that ever happened to me. She kissed his cheek. Good answer, Mr. Grant. Mrs. Zeller Grant, technically, he corrected, pulling a ring from the dish by the sink and slipping it back onto her finger. But I'll let it slide, she laughed, then turned as Clara burst through the door, cheeks flushed and hair wild. Can we make lemonade? She asked. Like real lemonade, Bianca looked at Harvey. You got lemons, he held up the bowl. Do I look like a man who forgets lemons? Let's do it, Bianca said, lifting Clara onto the counter. The kitchen filled with the scent of citrus and the sound of joy. And for once, there was no boardroom, no storm cloud, no broken thing waiting to be fixed. There was only a family built not by blood or chance, but choice and a love that had started with a broken roof and grown into something unshakable. And it was enough, more than enough. Forever.